here's where I think we should look. Like, so can we, council, put this over with the audit committee and give them a task? Tee that up and let them start the process for looking for good firms.
Are we on to 4.2?
We're on to 4.2, sir.
Okay. Well, I think it would be worth having a little bit of discussion on what's being requested here and kind of the reasoning behind the need for a forensic audit on the CIP projects, sewer and water, and American Rescue Plan Act monies. But what I would like to do, if I could, before that, is maybe if I got a couple of questions that I'd like to ask you, Neil, and Dr. Ogunremi, kind of about overall.
Sure.
Because I'm just curious, because I'm trying to kind of educate myself and learn a little bit more about forensic audits. What are they? Why do we do them? I know that we had done one before, and I just want to kind of get a little expertise on someone with more knowledge than I've got about it, just dealing with it. I mean, I've got, knowledge and information on 30 years in business, but I don't have it necessarily in government. So Neil, how long have you been working in accounting and auditing?
I have been in accounting now for 25 years,
Okay.
in audit and a few years in general accounting.
Okay.
So,
And then before joining the city of Amarillo, what organizations, who did you work for?
well, I've worked for Fortune 500s, Fortune 1000s, Pier 1 Imports, GameStop, and been involved in all their control audits like with SOX, Sarbanes-Oxley, IT audits, operational audits, control audits. So it takes up my 25 years, a lot of control testing.
Right. And then, I mean, and during that time, I guess, how many financial audits, SOX reviews, IT reviews, is it in the dozens, the 100, more than 100, hundreds?
Hundreds.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And so I guess my curiosity is, before you came to the city of Amarillo, how many forensic audits had you participated in?
None.
So during that time in both public and private sector,
No, sir.
never a request for a forensic audit?
No.
What, and kind of your understanding, what is the general purpose of a forensic audit?
Well, forensic audit is a whole lot more specific than what you do for financial audit. So it's directed to a specific area, but it's based on there was a whistleblower saying, hey, we got problems in the area, or there's suspicion of fraud or controls that's not functioning, stuff like that. So you target a specific area. So like for the mayor, CIP is what they would target. So they wouldn't look at anything else, but they have to have a detailed scope. So you can't just come in and bring them in and say, hey, audit CIP. So you need to be specific, and they're going to ask a lot of questions as to why do you want it, what direction you're going, things like that.
And so, and generally, what circumstances generally lead to say, okay, probably not fair to ask you that because you've never had one asked before or been involved in it, but from what you know, what generally leads to saying we need a forensic audit?
It's generally going to be somebody that's got some kind of support that fraud has happened. You have a whistleblower that called in and say, hey, I know person A, B, and C is doing this. That's normally what triggers it. Mostly fraud, that's your main purpose in most cases.
So generally, if somebody has brought something up to say, the facts indicate that there is a problem here, we need to pursue that by investigating to test these facts to see if they are true or not true.
Yes, sir.
And I guess in your experience, is an audit more of an exception than a rule?
I would say it's an exception. You don't see it that often. In my 25 years, I've only had one with Prop 1. It's not a common thing. Most of your audits is going to be process-based, financial audits, or compliance audits.
Yeah, and then as I recall, in the 2016 audit, it came back with no missing money, no laws broken, no fraud. There was nothing that came back. In fact, I think we
Yes, sir.
We're going to pay 37,000, and they said, there's nothing here, so we only, I think, paid 17,000 for that one.
Yes, if I
So-
remember correctly, that's it, yes, sir.
And then and to compile the information for a forensic audit, I mean, is that on staff to get the information to share with the forensic auditor?
Yes.
So that's
Yeah,
the
we'll
staff
have to,
work to be
yeah,
able to do
staff
that.
will have to pull all that support, all that information together to provide to them.
Yeah. Kind of based on your work, I mean, if you saw something, if you saw fraud or suspected something, or was it presented to you, would it be your duty and responsibility to say we need to conduct a forensic audit?
I would most probably not even go to forensic audit. I would bring it in-house. I mean, my team, myself, we've got enough experience to be able to look at a process and identify if there's funds missing or something's not following a certain control or procedure, stuff like that. I think with a lot of the changes that we've made, as in CIP, for instance, we've had a big input on creating a CIP committee, doing some additional testing. Internal audit just implemented a monthly review of CIP, closed, open, so going forward, we're in a real good place.
Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, you haven't seen anything that's led you to recommend a forensic audit, have you?
No, sir.
And then our independent auditor did not come back with anything that said we needed a forensic audit?
No, sir.
Okay. Dr. Garumi, just a couple of questions I want to ask you and your experience with this.
Sure.
So how long have you worked in municipal finance?
8.5 years. with
8.5
municipal
years.
finance.
And have you ever participated in a forensic audit before
No,
in the municipal experience?
no.
And again, I just want to make sure the audit, I guess you worked with the auditor, nothing came back to say that we needed to have a forensic audit, or there was nothing that came back in the audit that says, hey, there's potential fraud, misuse, anything like that. It was I guess the term is clean opinion, or whatever that may be, was what we were given.
That is correct.
Okay. And have you seen anything that would make you recommend a forensic audit into these three departments?
No, not
Okay.
at this time.
I appreciate it. I would just say this. Before we consider authorizing a forensic audit, I think we owe it to the taxpayer to answer a few basic questions. Has anyone presented credible evidence that city funds have been stolen, intentionally misused, or fraudulently diverted? Because that seems to me the indication of need for a forensic audit. Has anyone identified a specific transaction, department, program, or employee where there's reason to believe financial misconduct occurred? And has our staff or independent external auditor reported fraud or recommended a forensic audit? Over the past, and I was trying to learn or get educated on these forensic audits, because I know it's a word that comes up, but what does it mean? And I spent time over the last several days, and I found dozens of municipal forensic audits conducted over the last 15 years across the country. There are some that occur. There's not, a lot of them, but they do occur. And in every example I reviewed, there was a fact-based reason to investigate. There was allegations of fraud, whistleblower complaints that you mentioned, missing funds, suspected embezzlement, misuse of grants. Sometimes there's referrals from law enforcement. But the common theme among these is the investigation followed the facts. It did not precede them. In other words, it was designed to say, we're not necessarily just seeing what's out there. There's certain specific things that we think have occurred. So and maybe I'm missing something, if there's credible evidence of fraud, theft, intentional misuse of funds, serious financial misconduct, I would consider that. But I guess that's not the question here. The question is, what are the facts that justify one here? And so far I haven't seen any. We haven't had it from our staff or from our independent auditor. So, what things are we pursuing? What things do we have that says, wow, this investment into a forensic audit is worth it because we think these things are happening?
I get what you're saying, Les, but in my professional experience in investigating banking institutions, that the FDIC and the SEC didn't find any issues. And later, the bank presidents were prosecuted on a federal level. So you do make some good points as to what our criteria is. But the reason you ask for a forensic audit is because you don't know what you don't know. And Neil hits a good point as far as usually it's because there's been some allegation of improprieties or embezzlement or misappropriation of funds. And we had that in this city. We had that. And a forensic audit, as far as I know, was not done after that happened. And so for your one question that there hasn't been that accusation of any wrongdoing, there's a partial truth to that. But then there's the part that we know that there was an embezzlement from the city, and a large embezzlement that people are doing federal crime time for. I do think that we have to look at the scope. We can't just go in and do a open book, that we have to look and say, where have we seen issues? Not accusing anybody of doing anything illegally or wrong. As I said the last time we talked about this, I know if I were coming in as the chief financial officer, I would want to have that type of audit done, so I know that I have completely clean books and that everything that the city's doing is on the up. We can make that assumption, but until we have those type of documents and people looking at it, a third party, we don't know that. So this is one of those things that we're torn. I think we need to do that type of audit. I think we need to be specific in how we direct it and what we're looking for. And I think I agree with you on that is as to why. Why are the reasons that we do that? I think that's an important thing. But if we're just going to rely on the fact that nobody has reported anything, and that's a reason not to do it, that may be a reason to do it.
But why in these three departments?
And that is one of my questions. Why did we pick those three out as opposed to some others?
So we did
We
not.
have to answer that.
So we did not pick those three. So though that description for the public to hear what our discussion was about listed those projects from our previous council meeting that I stated, like if we were to do a forensic audit, I would just start with these three. And once again, we've just spent probably an hour talking about the need for a committee to come along and not only help define the scope of work, but rely on the experts in these firms to scope out their own work. So I don't want to get us lost in a part of the conversation based on a heading that says, why did we pick these three now? I also think you deserve a straightforward answer. So I'm glad to give an example on each one of those.
I would like to just say, if we truly are doing this to get a good set of books to start, this is just a very small percentage. This does not achieve that task. Mm-hmm. To me, this looks like there is reason in CIP, sewer and water, or the American Rescue Plan that there's something wrong going on there.
Right, and I echo that. I'm not saying that this is the limit or that this is the only thing we should look at. What I'm saying is these are the glaring examples of things that we've struggled with firsthand, and these were just given as examples. So once again, we need to define what does a successful audit look like where we're clean and clear and where we're comfortable and confident that we know what we know. So I love what Councilman Reed said, we don't know what we don't know, and we need that third-party expert to come in and take some of these concerns and mitigate them. Councilman.
I would like to know, you, Neil, right?
Yes, sir.
Is there a problem in CIP, sewer and water, or the American Rescue Plan Act monies?
From what we've audited and what I've looked at, no, sir.
One more time, please. I couldn't hear you.
For what I did, what we reviewed, and working with management team, I have not seen anything of concern in those areas.
Is there anywhere in the city that you think needs to have a forensic audit?
No, sir. That's why you have an internal audit department that's independent from city. And like you say, if your audit committee would like us to look at something, we are available.
And you have complete autonomy to look at anything you want to look at
Yes, sir.
at any time in the city?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever been denied or had any recourse or anyone tell you you cannot look at a certain area?
No, sir.
Unio, who is your oversight?
Internal audit is independent from management. We report administratively to Grayson and functionally, but internal audit makes the determination of what gets audited and what not.
You don't feel like that would influence you in any way on what you find? I mean, you feel independent?
No, and in my position and according to the standards from our Institute of Internal Auditors, I have to have total independence.
Yeah, okay. Dr. Okunremi, can I ask you, Councilman Reed brought up a good point. Would it bring you a level of comfort if there was a forensic audit? Would it bring you a level of comfort if it came back clean? Or not even that if it came back clean, but that a forensic audit was performed in areas, would that give you more comfort taking on this role as CFO?
So the regular financial statement audits perform that function because we get audited every year anyway, and that once we have the external auditors opine on the status of our financial statements as to whether they're free of material misstatements and give us a clean audit opinion, that gives a great level of assurance that our books are materially correct. We also had the single audit, which focused on the different major grants that we had in the city, and we had some feedback from the process, and that also gave a level of assurance that we were overall in compliance, except for the areas that were listed on the single audit report.
Okay, so a forensic audit would not give you a greater level of confidence.
We already have that. That is correct. It's more specific, and it's typically as a result of a concern or suspicion about certain areas, which we currently do not have at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm putting you on the spot as the new CFO.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, you haven't really given me a yes or a no, and I don't mean to be ugly about that, but
Okay.
it would not give you any greater level of comfort if a forensic audit was performed than what you have now over any single department.
That is correct.
Okay, so you don't feel like it'd be beneficial at all or give you any more level of comfort, is what you're saying?
That is correct. The financial statement audit serves that purpose already.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Councilman, you got something else? No. Did you have something else?
Well, again, and I tried to do fact-based research on this, and if anybody can find a city that commissioned a forensic audit of one department, much less three, to simply gain confidence in the financial records, I can't find it. I mean, as a business owner, you do weigh and balance, but even we've seen in business communities, I mean, I didn't walk in your shoes. I mean, maybe there's, but as a business owner, I mean, I'm not going to wake up one day and say, wow, I think I'm going to go conduct a forensic audit, because they're costly, particularly if they have a wide scope. But I just haven't seen anybody that said, like you said, well, we just want to feel more comfortable with this. Generally, it is, from what I'm saying, it's to provide evidence, potential evidence in a court case.
Yes, sir.
Because you're sensing that something's wrong, and you do this forensic audit so that when you go to court, that you're able to prove whatever you think is happening or not prove it. So.
Councilman?
Cost on a forensic audit, any idea at all? If we were going to do a cost on CIP, sewer and water, and ARPA monies, any idea?
You can pretty much look at a minimum of about 500 or average of $500 per hour. to
And
do
how
this.
many, I'm not holding you to it. but-
Depending on how deep you go. I mean, normal, if I had to guesstimate, it's going to be at least 4 weeks on just say CIP. Okay, so you got 4 weeks there, and then you're going to have a QA review and then a sign off by the lead. So let's say 6 weeks. So what are you looking at? 120,000?
Just for the one, so this could be a $400,000 expenditure?
All depends on how big you decide to go and how deep you want to dig. But yeah, you can go on average at about $500 per hour.
So going back to what Councilman Simpson said, Mayor, do you have CIP projects, sewer and water, and ARPA monies that you think have been done wrong?
It's important to keep it fact-based. And I appreciate Councilman Simpson for saying again, like, he's just looking at the facts and what other cities have done, and then he's just digging for like good common sense, practical recommendation. Like, let's at least identify why we're here, and then let's identify like, what are we here to do, right? So let's go back here for a minute. If you guys would give me a second, it's a pretty good topic, but it seems like people are paying attention here. So why we're here is because we all believe in a system where you elect people because you pay into the system for core services. Not one person out there pays independently and privately for all of their core services. You don't have to hire your own security to come and help keep your neighborhood safe. So because of that system, we have public monies that are your dollars in our possession, but we don't have any money, right? So if we sit here and we tell you, well, we found $43 million in these CIP projects that didn't get spent, no, 43 million of your monies that you gave to be stewarded up here and appropriated by this commission that were not spent, and then were not reported. So we admit to that, we agree to that, right? We're trying to put that in a polite context where that's a good thing. Ultimately, it's a concern as to why did we not spend the money and how did we not know we had it? So in the cost of all this, if you take 6 weeks times 40 hours times 500, that's 120,000. So in budgeting and costing this, I'd hate to get hung up on $120,000 when, I mean, I sat through plenty of meetings where, Councilman Simpson said very directly, he wanted an answer. Is there a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? Mayor says there's $100 million in this portfolio over here, and he says that he knows it's there, but like, is there any money there? And you guys said no. You said we got a small amount of money. At the time, out of the general fund, it was probably less than $3 million, right? Now, we've got a total of $43 million that we can track with staff, right? So that is a concern. When you bring back numbers that are different from what you said before, I think we have to take a hard look at that and say, that's just the facts, right? But to keep on point here, we don't have $43 million that we need to have staff go and spend somewhere. We have an appropriations issue. Those $43 million need to come back to this body that you've elected to perform our job, and we need to know where it goes and how it goes and when it goes. And so because of all that, are we going to bring all of those monies back and let you guys make recommendations and us put it into practice, or are we going to question, do we have $43 million, and can we bring about some clarity or confidence that that number's accurate? That number's changed 4 times so far. Let me give you another example. We have a sewer and water issue. We had a sewer and water shortfall. So previous year's budget, we deducted $29 million out of the sewer and water account. And the reason we did that was because we said we had a water rights issue. So we said that we booked the monies twice, and then we asked, well, do we have a booking issue? Do we have a cash flow issue? Did you pay for the project twice? No. Did you go and perform other projects that were not approved? No. You made commitments to do projects? Correct. Did you fulfill those commitments? No. So we don't have a shortfall? No, we do, is what was said. Okay, we're going to go through the audit. So we went through the general audit. We had the auditor here, ask him directly, Do we have a shortfall in sewer and water? No, sir. Any which way you cut it, you actually have a net profit in that enterprise. Even if you deduct $17 million for depreciation, which is just a non-cash item, it doesn't really affect your account. You still have $17 million in the account. But even if you take that out, you still walked away with $5 million at the end of the year. So that enterprise profited as an enterprise $23, $22 million. Okay, well, that's example number 2. Probably the one that's the most concerning is ARPA. So in asking for reports, bring me the receipts. We got $39 million. We got 2 tranches of money. I can't say ARPA because it's not the total name for everything, but we got $19 million, $19 plus million, $39 million. I was presented with roughly $14 million worth of, not receipts, but reports. And so I have to assume that those numbers are accurate and they're supported by supporting documents. But there was that one line item said $24 plus million revenue recovery. That's an interesting one. So in that year where we booked out $24 plus million in revenue recovery, did we have a revenue shortfall? No, we did not. Everybody paid their taxes. Hot taxes actually went up. Sales taxes came in strong, didn't wane at all. So we didn't spend all of those monies and provide supporting documents for that. So my question is if we took that $25 million and plugged it into that budget year and said that was revenue recovery, then what we had was a fund balance of $25 million left over. Can anybody substantiate that? Do you guys know where the money went? I mean, in just being specific, let's just take that one American Rescue Plan Act monies. It's you guys' report that I'm in possession of that shows there's $24 plus million of revenue recovery money. Where did that go if we didn't have a $24 million shortfall in that year? So is the money still sitting there and we need to go spend it? Did it go in place of those and then we had a fund balance and we're just not smart enough to see how we budgeted those monies for future use? Is it part of the 43 million and we don't have 2 separate items? Like, you know, do you, in listening to what I'm saying here over the last few short minutes, Mr. Skank, you have confidence that I know where all the money's at or that I don't have any legitimate concerns? You know, staff, I mean, is this an issue? We're not looking for fraud. I know that's the typical forensic, but you know, we're looking for stewardship and where's the money at? And so like, I'm good with going a different direction, but somebody's gonna have to show me how we get there. Who can pull all the receipts and put them together and go through these items? Because, you know, we need to be accountable to these ladies and gentlemen out here. And I thought that this was the best thing for an organization in this financial predicament. We don't have a usual problem where we're upside down, running in the red, and we can't pay our bills. We have an unusual problem. We have told our public we have $43 million so far identified in construction projects that have been closed out. So the sewer and water item, I mean, we've discussed like to death at this point, right? So do we not have anything to be concerned about? And if so, then my job gets a little easier. Or do we have some legitimate concerns and what, it's gonna cost us 120 grand, 200 grand? I mean, not too long ago, you guys were not in possession of $43 million and you were comfortable. You didn't have the money, you know? So now we have it, like, are we worried about the amount of money that we would need to spend, Mr. Pat?
If I can step in for a minute, I've made it very clear for the last several year or so how the CIP process has been working. It has been a progress, and it's been a route in progress. We have never said that there is no money. There is money, but the main point we've been saying is it's tied up in project, and we have to go systematically project by project to determine is it available to be released. If the council wanted $100 million, I could cancel all projects and bring $100 million and reshuffle that project list back into the queue for y'all to consider. I could do that tomorrow if you wanted to. But I'm assuming that those projects are still priorities, so we are systematically going project by project as time allows us, as a CIP committee, to bring the information. And so as time has progressed, we have identified 42 million that we can bring to you. That is a victory. That is the hard work that the men and women to my left have done to find you the information, but we have done the work to bring that to you. More work is coming. We're doing the work to bring that to you. And so that's the CIP. We're bringing it to you. But overall, I think the idea of a forensic audit is we have provided information, but it's not been acceptable. And so if the goal of the forensic audit is to provide information that is acceptable, then so be it. I've been quiet in the forensic audit discussion, but I have learned over the last 2 years that what staff provides is not acceptable. And so if a forensic audit is what gets us over that hill, then so be it.
So let me be direct. Was it acceptable when the staff provided the budget amendment for police, $240,000? That was acceptable, right?
It was based off the information we had at the time. The audit had progressed over time, working on the auditor, we had more information, we brought back to you better information.
How many, months after the completion of the fiscal year end, we proposed that budget amendment?
It takes time to work through an audit process. Again, we bring back amendments based off the audit as the audit is progressing.
Okay.
This is not a simple entity. It's not a simple process. This isn't QuickBooks. And so we have to work through a long process with auditors to bring you back information that you can work with.
Yes, sir. That's why we need a good qualified third party, because this isn't QuickBooks. And that number went from $240,000 budget amendment, or was it 210? I can't remember. But to roughly $5.5 million in a cost overrun, right? In the actuals in our largest and one of our most vital and key departments. Like, to me, as a taxpayer, not as your mayor, but that's totally unacceptable, right? And I mean, we need to maintain decorum and be polite here, but not at the expense of truth, right? So the truth is we didn't know how much we spent. And we've provided this mayor and council multiple reports, and I can go drag them all out, and not many of the numbers are consistent. And so I don't have confidence. It's not that I don't trust, it's that I don't have confidence that I can tell those people out there that I know where the money's at and that we've secured it. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for an opportunity to hand this over to a third-party, independent group that can come in, look at the books. I have yet to see, I can't say I haven't seen a bank statement. I might have seen one that was 4 years old. But I'm not looking at your bank statement, right? I'm not looking at the back of those checks that have cleared. I don't get to see those receipts. You guys are relying on report after report, and so are we. And so we don't have to be contentious. We can be pragmatic. We're talking about $120,000 to let somebody look at what you're confident is good. It's your confidence that you're basing this on. You're defending it. I'm the one that's not confident. So, if I need to dig through the budget, I bet I can find it.
I'd like a clarification. It's 120 it's 120 for CIP, 120 for sewer and water, 120 for ARPA, right? I mean,
No, sir, that's just the estimate. It's $500 per hour on average.
Right.
For them to come in.
and you think they can get the whole thing done in 4 weeks?
It's a guesstimation. It depends on how deep
Well,
they go.
let's
Okay.
double it. Let's say it's $240,000, $250,000. How big is this organization? It's a $500 million a year organization. Come on, guys. This is not what we're doing here, right? We're not worried about $250,000 in good
No, Mayor,
stewardship.
that's exactly what we are worried about.
No, sir.
Yeah, it is.
No,
Are you-
because-
what we're looking at here is, let's come to an agreement. Does anyone want to do a forensic audit to give us a higher comfort level, just so that we have good books? How much did we just spend on the audit? How much did the audit cost us? It's close to $500,000, wasn't it? 435?
Yeah, 400.
About
and-
400
that.
plus, yes.
So we spent a lot of money, and year after year after year, we've come back with professionals. Now we've had a second firm, and they all come back with the same information. If you can present me with something that says there's been fraud, falsified records, suspicious transactions, those types of things. But the truth is, as he said, have you found any money that we thought was just out there missing, and then we said, oh my gosh, we just have an extra $5 million in our bank account that we didn't know about?
I have not.
No,
sir.
we haven't. To give this portrayal that there's some kind of lost money, it was the staff that went out. The problem was not with this staff. It was for years, for whatever reason, we didn't close out projects. It didn't take a forensic audit to figure that out. If there's problems, I think we can address those with you, Neil. Let's get him to answer some of these questions and do it in-house. If we can't get the answers to those questions, then maybe we'll look at it. But I think doing a forensic audit without fact base of saying, okay, here's the reason why we want to invest that, I just don't think is the right move at this point.
You know, I think the CIP issue was more a policy issue. But I think what Mayor's not comfortable with is I don't know that we would have found it if we hadn't pressed, and looked at it. So, I mean, I think to Mayor's point, there was $43 million sitting there that I don't know if we would have found. I mean, there's no way to know. I mean, it's not even finding it. It was there. We knew it was there, but projects weren't closed out. So the money was allocated. Just nobody did it. So to me, is bad policy, right? We just had a bad policy. We didn't close out projects. That was fixed. But Neil, what I would ask is, I know you've had hours and hours of conversations with Mayor. How would you answer the two other issues that he has? Because I've got at least a little bit of comfort level with CIP. I don't think any money's missing, but I think it's a policy issue. We fixed it, in my opinion. But with ARPA and the sewer and drainage, how, to his three examples that he gave, what is your answer there? Because I think all of us up here know a little bit about accounting, but not near to the level that you two guys do. You're professionals. So what is your answer there? Because Mayor brings up great points, but I guess, and you haven't been here, but Neil has, and you've seen all the books. What is your answer to those two things? Because those are valid points that he brings up.
Well, based on what I've seen and what I looked over that we got from management and what I researched, we provided an explanation on the sewer and water issue and what happened in accounting and what happened there. So I was comfortable with the responses I got from management and the things I looked at. As far as ARPA goes, I suspect that you, Mr. Mayor, haven't received all the support that's out there because all that money is spoken for.
Okay,
Because a lot of that ARPA money was assigned to pay police and fire salaries and stuff, so you should have something related to that.
yeah, it's listed as line item, and it's the most recent report, and it says revenue recovery, and it's $24+ million. So what you're saying is that revenue recovery went into the general fund to pay for, let's say, salaries and wages, right? What I'm saying is we didn't net a shortfall that year. So as revenue recovery, that would have been additional monies that came into the system. And then we should have seen that in a fund balance. My question is where did that show up in the fund balance? Where did we have that additional $24+ million sitting off to the side? Whether you substitute it in and out, it's still the same net at the end of the year. So I would love an answer on that of like, what was the fund balance at the end of the year and how did we recognize that additional money? And then where did it go? But let's go to sewer and water. You're comfortable with the statement that was given on the sewer and water explanation, right?
From city management and the team,
Right,
yes.
so city management gave you an explanation that, there was a water rights issue and it got booked twice, right?
Yes, sir.
Did the expenditures go out as well? So we have a booking problem. We committed project monies to be done because we recognize that as a source of income revenue. So we applied it to or allocated it to jobs, but did we go do any of those projects?
Well, I'll have to go and look at my paperwork again and see on my reporting and what my support is there to give you an appropriate answer.
Okay, so you can't answer that here today.
Not right now.
Okay, so you're not comfortable in answering that. You don't have confidence in answering that direct question.
Not without my support.
So without him having confidence, I lack a severe amount of confidence up here to sit in front of you and tell you, man, we're good, So I've made my case. This forensic audit could be costly. I understand it's got some risk in it, but I can't continue to do this job in this way and not be this upfront. So, unity is preferable. I'd love it for us to all link arms, but the truth is a non-negotiable. And the truth is I've had lots of reports that have come forward, and those numbers aren't the same from one report to the next. It's not a moving target, and we do need an expert to come in here and look at these books, bottom line. So council, I'm just going to ask you guys, we got to give direction here. It's not a voting item, but I appreciate Councilman Simpson for his strong stand against it, and his belief that it's not needed. I hope you appreciate and respect my strong stance for it. I think that it is needed. You each get your opportunity to make your decision, and then I will respect your decision. And if this is where it dies, then so be it. But if we move this forward, I would propose it goes to that audit committee for recommendations.
I support sending it to audit committee to have further discussion.
Well, and I would agree. I think we've got to define scope. I mean, you said that these three were just brought forward from the previous meeting, but definitely needed to define scope. And if we go off, $500 an hour, we put no more than, we've got to look at scope and look at the cost.
I also think we do everything we can to get the supplied information that we have in-house now to any of the council members, including the mayor, that need any of that data to get a level of confidence in our process.
Well, and I just want to think, I don't want to speak on behalf of you, Neil, but you didn't answer the question because you don't want to give a misinformation or the wrong answer without the document. And I mean, maybe it's hard for people to believe that you haven't memorized every internal audit you've ever done in the history of the city of Amarillo. I would expect you to do that. But to say that you don't have a confidence level in your work, is that true?
No, sir.
Do you have confidence level in the work that you and your team has done?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, as do I. And so I don't think you're to say that you have a lack of confidence level. You don't want to give some misinformation because, boy, you give some misinformation, your head could get chopped off at the next meeting for saying, well, why did you tell us this when you say, no, I didn't have that in front of me.
I'll make it onto Facebook.
Yes. I would just hope, and this would be, I mean, if it goes to the audit committee, so be it. But I would implore the audit committee, all the members of the audit committee, does everybody get a vote? Or does it just the two council members that determines it?
No, it's a full working committee, so all members have a voice.
For the benefit of the taxpayers, and I agree, if I thought there was real problems out there, and there were some of these problems with fraud, or we expected something like we've had in some other departments, but we've got the resources here on staff. My preference would be, can we get these questions answered and get this reconciled by staff if there's something because that's going to be cheaper than a forensic audit. And in the end, the forensic audit just reviews work that you've already done.
Yeah, most of the time, yes, sir.
Yeah. So, to say, can we get these questions answered? Because I don't know, has anybody else got any questions that we need to put in other departments other than CIP, water, ARPA?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then take it to the audit committee and come back. But to me, if there's evidence of misappropriation, fraud, to me that's what a forensic audit is designed for. And I agree. I don't think it's a wise investment just to go out there and say we don't have any facts to support it, but we just want to go out there. But to me, I would implore the audit committee to say, come back to this council before we proceed with fact-based information that shows that a forensic audit is needed because of one of the reasons that historically a forensic audit is always used for, and that we can't get an adequate answer to that from our staff.
I think I want to jump in right there. I mean, I want to, again, look at who is on the audit committee. It's Mayor Stanley, Councilman Prescott, myself, Lola Ogunremi, and then Mr. Frigo, I think. And so, I mean, I really want to, if forensic audits is whenever you're questioning the work of the staff. 2 of those 5 are staff. The other is a former staff. And so what are we tasking the audit committee with doing? And so I really, again, if, as your advisor, as city manager, if the concern is you're trying to give a confidence level to the citizens about the work that staff has done, does it look good to have a committee of 2 plus 1 former staff person making that decision? I don't think that's what you should do. So I think if you're asking the audit committee to do something here, it should be as simple as vet 3 firms bring back a qualified firm, and then let the council work from there. I would not task this committee, which again makes up 2 employees plus 1 former employee, of trying to tell you whether a forensic audit is needed or not. Because that's going to put myself, Lola, and the former employee in a tough spot.
And then who would determine the scope?
I would probably say, again, as part of the audit committee, if we're vetting forensic auditors, identify a qualified auditor, and then have that auditor help us define the scope. And so I think that's something that we could do. Again, I don't think that complicates the trust factor here, because again, you can always vet the scope yourself as a council. And so you could do that, you can see whatever work we do, and so I think it's good enough. But I think having the auditor lead that effort, again, removes it out of the staff portion of that committee. It removes it from the staff completely. And then that brings it back to you guys to then, you can then have a communication directly between yourself as council and that auditor.
It's very well said. And Councilman Simpson, you said earlier, you don't want to abdicate your authority here to a committee. And that would essentially be what we'd be doing. You'd be handing it over to the committee for them to decide whether we do a forensic audit or not. And that is what this body is here for.
No, that would have to come back to council. I think council is the only one that has authority
Well,
to do that. They
but-
can come back with recommendations.
So we're asking though specifically, and I think Mr. Path is doing a great job of leading us to it. You need to task that committee with a task. Go out and find 3 reputable, get pricing, and then make a recommendation on which one. That comes back to this council for, now we know what Councilman Tips wanted to know. How much could this cost? We're throwing out numbers, we don't know. But then, what is the scope of work? What are we looking for? And does that individual show up here in a meeting saying, oh yes, if I had seen these set of circumstances, I believe that this does mount to the level of this type of an audit. Or maybe they say the opposite. And you know, we don't have the argument. We need to listen to that expert. Right now, I mean, our expertise are, you know, defined as QuickBooks. So like, I'm keeping it, you know, in perspective here. Like, let's be specific with this audit committee. Let them get this move forward, or kill it here today and decide that we don't have any cause for concern, and let's move forward with the direction, and I'll accept it either way.
Yeah. I would believe, though, I don't know if you're going to be able to come up with a cost before you look at scope.
I believe that you could get a projected cost, and you could probably get an expert that's willing to speak to averages. I mean, that's what we do a lot in here, you know, before we go through designs. Same way on a highway or road project or sewer and water. I mean, so I think the money matters, the stewardship matters, but I'm not hung up on the amount of the money to perform this. Council, we need direction. I hadn't heard from place one.
So, well, you know, this is a discussion, and this is what I talked about at the beginning of the year, that there's a natural tension between staff and council, and it should be that way. Mr. Path, I appreciate the counsel you just gave us. That was an area that I wasn't looking at, and I appreciate that greatly. We're here to discuss this thing. It's the whole idea of this council, is to come out here in public and let them hear what we're thinking, how we're thinking, and why we're thinking it. And I think everybody's heard that today. And I agree. The discussion before this was what was the role of the audit committee. So we give them a direction. I agree with that. Let them go out and find the 3, if possible, to give us some estimates on what the cost is. I appreciate you coming up with an estimate of that, but that's even hard to put into when you start thinking about hours. Is it going to be 4 weeks? Is it going to be 6 weeks? Could be 2 weeks, most likely not. But we need to know those things before we make the decision that we're going that way. You know, I have no reason to doubt the numbers that have been given to us. I know that I can't use this excuse anymore. I've been on here a little over a year, but I still feel a little uncomfortable with things as far as where we are. You know, $42 million? Would our decisions been different when we did budget last year if we knew that we had this $42 million? Would pools have been closed? I mean, those are important things as we look back, not knowing that those dollars were there. So I think we take the opportunity to let some firms come in here and give us their recommendation on what cost would be and how they would scope out this project. And then we make our decision as a council.
Councilman Tips, anything further? No. Okay. Councilman? Yes, sir.
I would say one thing that would be beneficial for me, again, if we're on a fact-driven mission, that whatever, and if we do decide to move forward with a forensic audit, I think the narrower the scope, the better, so that there's a focus on it. But I would just want to know, to come back from the audit committee, is what are the specifics? We've talked about them here. I'd like to see what are the specifics in writing that we do not have a comfort level with, or that any of us on the audit committee, in writing, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take every one of those and I'm going to go to UNIL and I want to sit down and go over these with them and see, because that again, that's going to tell me where my comfort level is of saying, well, wait a minute, forensic audit definitely needed, or I see where this makes sense. So what I would like to come back from the audit committee or from our two members is what facts are driving us to say, here are the facts why we need a forensic audit and why a forensic audit is only going to be the only way to get adequate answers of questions on this.
Yeah,
Is that a fair thing to ask for?
totally fair, and I think we
Okay.
can do better than that. Let's let the recommendation come from that committee, and let's back that up with that audit firm's recommendation and identification of what they think. And so, not totally up to Prescott and myself to bring you back, well, these are the 4 facts that we're not comfortable with. Maybe that needs to come back with that expert opinion of why they would feel like their services are needed. So we will dive into that. I feel like I have what I need in direction.
Yeah, I want to
Yes,
make
sir.
sure, I want to make sure that I have my direction too. I think, I know there's been a lot of various requests here at the end here. My recommendation, just to make this as clean and as simple as possible, would be to direct the audit committee to gather together, obviously, identify through some procurement process, 3 qualified entities, vet those entities, come down to 1, and then bring back to the city council your recommendation and the reason why. And so there's been other requests here about documents. I think let's get past that for now. Let's just focus on the audit committee and then focus on the forensic audit if we're going to go that way, instead of trying to do other parallel paths of looking for information and reasons and documents and everything.
But Grayson,
So-
I respect what you're saying, but I would just like to see, okay, what is it that we're thinking about hiring a forensic auditor?
Yes, I think that's part of this.
Before we even, I don't know, maybe we'll get a forensic auditor and he'll say, oh, you don't need my business. I don't know why I'm here. I doubt that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody's going to come in here and say, oh, you guys are good. They're in it to make money. But before we go any farther down this path, I'd just like to say and I think the audit committee would be, what facts overall are needing further investigation by
Yes.
council or by staff? And what is the best way to get that investigation done? Is it forensic audit, or are there other ways? But I can't make that conclusion on myself until I see, and I would prefer to get in writing, the documented facts of where our problems are, where the lack of reconciliation is, so that if it's there, I need to do my due diligence to be able to look at it. And then that's going to help me determine, do I feel adequate with it, or do I feel like there needs to be a forensic audit? So that's what I would want. That's what I would want to get.
And again, I just to repeat what I said earlier, I definitely appreciate what you're saying, but again, in this situation, given the questioning is the work of staff, and given 2 of the 5 are current and 1 is a former, I worry that individuals will trust the result brought back. And so I think, given where we're at, I think we just need to pursue forensic auditor qualifications at this point here.
Okay. Well, who's going to bring it back to us? It's going to be our two members of the audit committee.
Correct, yes.
I trust them to bring back the facts and the list of what homework do I need to do to be able to specifically go through this and work with you, Neil, to make sure that there's adequate answers to these. Unless there's another way that I can get it, but if we've got the audit committee, that would be my request of the audit committee, which I guess would be the two of you.
Why would we not increase the size of the audit committee with, Grayson, what you brought up is very important. Why would we not add 3 additional members with acumen and education in auditing to be part of the group?
Mr. McWilliams will have to speak to that because it's commissioned through a voted item that spells it out. So I think at that point, what you'd be doing is going and amending that resolution, right? In order to identify those, in order to give them authority to weigh in on the recommendation. Because essentially, you're going to have 5 that are going to look at this and, you know, amongst themselves come up with the 3, and maybe you had one that you really liked, I had one I liked, we couldn't agree on the other one, but whatever. But if we're going to do an ad hoc committee, it would really need to be outside of that. And I think that opens up the potential of, you know, inviting certain citizens to that, and it's a really big thing to digest if
That's
you're
what I
new
said,
to it.
yeah. I mean, ones that have acumen in accounting.
Yeah, even acumen in accounting, you know, government accounting practices are very different. And then this is a large item. So I'm comfortable with the way Mr. Path has got this direction. And I understand the additional request from Councilman Simpson. I would just say, like, you know, we'll do our best. But my main question would be, when can we get this scheduled and get that committee together?
We will work soon. Again, we are preparing for budget in 2 weeks. And so I really request we don't meet between now and then because I've got to be focused on the budget. And so, but I think soon, August at the very latest, and so we can get this thing together.
Well, I appreciate the.
And in the meantime, I think I can work with you, Neil. I think he can start drawing up qualification documents and procurement documents. I can start that process with Neil tomorrow, and minus some budget things I've got you working on. So, but we can start that and then meet soon thereafter.
Okay.
Mayor,
Anything?
I'd want to say one more thing.
Yes, sir.
I want to be clear. I'm not dismissing your concerns because I don't think I understand them. That's why, and for me, that's why, and if anybody else has got concerns that we need to look into, I'd like to be able to see those, not only just hear about them, but I comprehend things in writing. So if you can tell me in writing what we're looking for so that I can track that and that's going to be helpful for me. So I'm not dismissing that there are concerns here. I've got to get them in a way where, because I'm just not tracking the things that you've been spending a lot of time researching.
Well, I don't feel dismissed. I appreciate the comment, but I think Mr. Path laid it out pretty straightforward, and I have a task at hand to go and do it. And so I think we're on our way. I understand the prioritization of the budget, but you know, once again, I think the path forward is the best one. Let's identify a third party that can help us. And then I have lots of documentation I'd be happy to share with you. So I know that's a long discussion, but needed. We got a few minutes. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you standing up there. Sorry to keep you there. Respect everyone's position on this and understand the staff's position as well. And you know, nothing directed at any person, nothing even directed at a department, but something that is directed at me. And like, I would not push for this if I didn't know that, you know, like, I'm obligated to look a little deeper and ask for help. So I hope the staff can hear, this isn't me telling anybody that I know best. This is me telling everybody, I know what I can't see, I know what I don't know, and I need help. And I think this is the right way to ask for help. And so the audit committee, I think, is a helpful resource, and I'll leave it there. I know we've got another discussion, and then we'll move into public comment. We're going to take 10 minutes, come back after a short recess. We'll jump into and then we'll get right on public comment. So if you showed up to speak, please don't leave.